Oh my goodness! Welcome, friends! It's Petra here at Fruition Seeds, and it is gloriously January. And welcome to Live Q&A. Every Saturday we hang out and ask questions, and who needs answers when you have friends? So welcome and jump right in, and don't be shy. Today I'm so excited to bring you in our high tunnel, and check it out. There is a high tunnel behind me, and look at all of that snow piling up on it. So you can see how bright and glorious the winter light is. And when we go inside this high tunnel, suddenly it's going to become quite dark by comparison. Isn't that amazing? And look at all the things growing. And I'll put you right down on the tripod so you won't be ill. And welcome to an emerald sea of Claytonia. And we're back. Ooh, amazing. So Amanda Gorman, some words for our morning. When we merge mercy with might, and might with right, love becomes our legacy. Once more. When we merge mercy with might, and might with right, then love becomes our legacy. So yes, I love those words, and I love thinking about all the love that our ancestors had for us, both plant and human, and thinking about the countless ancestors across countless millennia that have been growing each other, not just humans saving seeds and planting them and eating them, but plants, I think, have been selecting us as well. And it's such a joy to continue this co-adaptation with the plants on our farm and to share them with you as well. So yes, I would love to tell you a little bit more about this plant. And there's really actually a lot of different plants that you can grow and be realistically eating all winter long. And this high tunnel makes it really nice and easier to grow. Really, it makes them easier to harvest. These would totally be thriving outside, not even under row cover. They just wouldn't be as easy to harvest, right? So we're very grateful for those tiny little bits of infrastructure, but don't be daunted. Even if you don't have this kind of infrastructure, you can totally eat greens all winter long. So here is, and Michelle asked, what types of veggies grow well under row cover? So there's row cover, there's a lot of different uses for it. Right now, we have two different styles of row cover, and it's basically spun polyester of different weights. We have a very lightweight version that we use in the summer. It lets tons of light in, and it is essentially excluding, say, cucumber beetles from our zucchini and our cucumber and our watermelon, that whole cucurbit family. So using it for that insect exclusion, like think cabbage moths as well, those cabbage loopers, that's totally valid. So we use that lightweight row cover in the summer, but this is heavy duty, and we have both on our website along with the hoops so they stay nice and taut, lofted over the greens. And in the winter, here are a few of the things that we are growing. So this is Claytonia, also called miner's lettuce, and arugula also grows fabulously in the cold. And this we seeded in September, but honestly, if you're even like out on the tip of Long Island or farther south, if you don't have snow and if your soil doesn't look like soup, you can be sowing these seeds. And spinach, of course, is incredibly cold hardy. This giant winter is the most cold hardy spinach that we have found. And not to mention, it's delicious. Mosh is an unusual green. Also, some people say mache, and tomato. It is remarkably cold tolerant as well, and it has these lovely little rosettes and this incredibly thick, almost spinach-like leaves, but it has this incredible nutty flavor that I've never tasted anything quite like it, and it's heaven. So mosh is also impressively cold tolerant. And tatsoi, Asian spinach, totally rocking it as well. We have that under row cover. And kale is also incredibly cold hardy. You want to make sure that you're getting those. Some are more cold hardy than others. So the kind of Russian Siberian types, so the Brassica napus genus species, are much more cold tolerant than, say, the Tuscan dinosaur, that style of kale. It all is pretty cold hardy, but go for the Russo-Siberian types and you will be eating that much more green. And yeah, this is a particular variety, this red Russian. We've been selecting this for 6-7 years with Nathaniel Thompson on his biodynamic farm outside Ithaca, and we've been selecting it for even more purple stems and even more serrations and even more cold hardiness. So it's an incredible variety that we're so honored to share. And this wintergreen mesclun mix, holy moly. Our friend Dan Brisebois up in Montreal, he has tournesol seeds, which I can't recommend highly enough. And he has been selecting this for over a decade in Montreal to be incredibly cold tolerant, to regrow quickly in the cold. Incredible. So it's a phenomenal variety that we honestly harvest cut and come again style 3-4 times over the winter in these tunnels. So yes, wintergreen mesclun mix indeed. So there are other things that we are trialing and trying. Oh my gosh, chervil is amazing as well. But nothing, just experiment. Those are our go-tos. Oh, and cilantro. How could I forget cilantro? Cilantro is remarkably cold tolerant, and who knew? Right? I grew up just growing cilantro in the summer, and cilantro and tomatoes were synonymous with summer. And I was mind-boggling to me when I saw it thriving into the snow, into the winter. and it's the sweetest, most tender cilantro you'll ever eat in your life, that winter harvested cilantro. So yes, there are so many wonderful things to eat, even in the depths of winter with relatively little infrastructure. So these are things that I want to spend the rest of my life talking about, and I'm so glad we get to talk about it today together. And Katie says, hi from Wisconsin. Hello, Wisconsin. Sending love to St. Croix. I have such fond memories of sitting in a heron rookery and just watching them fly overhead one day in beautiful Wisconsin. I'm finishing your seed order, and your mountain mint spread. Does your mountain mint spread like other mints? No, it does not. I'm so glad you asked, and that's why we offer it. Honestly, people ask for mint all the time too, and besides the fact that it's basically illegal to sell mint seeds because they spread so crazy, I just wouldn't want to, because I would please sign on this waiver. You're going to be probably sad wherever you plant this. So no, it is definitely not. Mountain mint is native, and it grows, think of it like a basil plant. Honestly, like that size, that width, it's really not a huge plant. It doesn't take up that much space, and it certainly doesn't spread. And where mint, what we think of often as mint, is a perennial, mountain mint, here in Zone 5 anyway, is an annual. But it has all of those same mint compounds. So in terms of flavor, you will be 100% over the moon. And because it doesn't spread, you will also be totally over the moon. So mojito in hand. Thank you so much for asking, Kate. And oh my gosh, this is live Q&A, so don't be shy, jump on in. And Molly says, I live near Buffalo, right on Lake Erie. Our ground isn't frozen yet, but I'm sure it will be very soon. Are my only options inside growing right now because of the snow we'll be getting. I highly recommend Microgreens. It's true. And check out our free Microgreens micro course. I couldn't call it a mini course with Microgreens, so it's a micro course. But it's micro only because it's about an hour of content and not 5 hours. Like, there's a lot there. And it's totally free, and you have lifetime access to it. So hop on over to fruitionseeds.com. You can also send us a little message, and we'll send you a direct link, or you could share your email, and I'll register you. And yeah, I highly, highly recommend just focusing on indoor growing. And so that really means focusing on, unless you have a lot of really expensive grow lights, your microgreens will be the best bang for your buck, to be honest. And certainly they're so easy, and they're so joyful, and they're so like instant gratification. Like that red Russian kale, 8 days later you'll be eating it. So a lot of other things aren't as quick and satisfying, and honestly can dampen off more quickly, more easily. So yes, I recommend microgreens. And since we're basically in the same zone, you can follow really closely to what we're sowing and when, and be really confident that you're going to knock it out of the park. Yeah, winter sowing is totally a thing, but I, for various and sundry reasons, recommend sticking to sprouts and microgreens. And Molly, I hope to see you all here on the farm one day too. I can't wait. We're about 2 hours from Buffalo, and one day our farm will be open to the public again, and I can't wait to give everyone such a huge hug. And Elizabeth says, any recommendations on building a mini greenhouse like you have there? Oh gosh, I actually don't know if I have recommendations. And this is small compared to other spaces. This is actually 100 feet long and 35 feet wide. So it's not particularly small. And there are a lot of, we got these materials from Souders. If you're here in the Finger Lakes, Souders and Penn Yan, Adam is just the best. We love him so much. And so call up Souders and see what he's got. I'm sure you can take these building blocks and make a much smaller space. But honestly, it's a great question, Elizabeth, and I hate to leave you hanging, and I have to. I just don't know where else to send you. So thanks for asking, and thanks for inspiring me to do a little more homework, because I know you're not the only person who is thinking that to yourself. And yes, Jackie says, I live in Rhode Island and my ground is frozen. Is there a way I can get some of the greens growing? Can I plant them inside and then outside as soon as the soil thaws, probably in a few weeks? Jackie, awesome question. So here's the thing. You get to do kind of both, the best of both worlds. If you want to get dirty and get your hands in the soil and seeds growing and just be witnessing life coming back to life, microgreens are your thing. Microgreens indoors all day long. Right now, since, it's true, climate catastrophe is here and here to stay. And so change is a mild way to put it. We have 2 feet of snow outside right now. It's awesome. The darkness, that's like snow on the gray. That's snow on the top of our tunnel. So, but 10 days ago, there was no snow on the ground, and 10 days from now, there could be no snow on the ground. But that being said, transplants are much harder to, once they're started inside, they just are on this track of life on easy street, essentially. Seeds sown in the soil when it's cold have just a wildly different approach, and what we would think of as many of us anyway would consider success and thriving in the cold. So once the snow melts and the soil thaws and it's not soup, go ahead and you can honestly plant any of these things that I just shared. So whether it's the wintergreen mesclun mix, arugula, kale, claytonia, spinach, mosh, Asian spinach, go for it. You can even try radishes. They're a little more tenuous, but totally worth. Just why not? We don't know unless we try. And it's not that they're not going to survive. It just depends how much snow we get. So just go ahead and sow them, and don't be daunted. But that direct sowing in the ground when it's still basically if it's before mid-March, certainly early March, your best bet is going to be just simply direct sowing them in the ground. And thank you so much for asking, Jackie. And Kim says, loving the new site, learning a ton about what to plant now. Yay. And my grow lights just arrived. Woohoo. Thank you for teaching so generously and making purchases so easy. Thank you, Kim. And oh my goodness, I can't wait to actually, this website, if you love it now, it's going to be so much better. And hopefully really soon, the integrations, and there's so much. But I'm so glad you're enjoying it. And thank you for seeing us. It's a joy and such a privilege, pardon the tears in my eyes. We have been given the gift from plants investing and teaching us, and so many humans investing in and teaching us. And we feel so fortunate to be able to just radiate that back into the world and amplify that abundance that much more. So thank you for sharing. Don't be shy. And Zena, oh my gosh, Zena, will I ever see you at a flower show again? Zena says, hi, Petra. How do you feel about winter sowing? Excited to learn about this method this year. Some people think you can start anything, not just cold hardy. It depends where you are. So if you're south of the Mason-Dixon line, yes. Basically, most things will go. If you're here where you have a foot of snow on your high tunnel and 2 feet on your garden, it's a little bit different. And I'm excited to just continue exploring. But honestly, all of these varieties that we sowed in the fall, and then we're harvesting all winter, and we'll be harvesting these through April, through May. By June, we'll be transitioning to our summer crops, but honestly, it's amazing how, like, a fall sown to me is just the dream, because then they grow in that warmth. They're adapting to the cold as the cold descends. And then look at this. I mean, wait a minute. Hold on. Look at this Claytonia. Can you see? It's like, it's frozen solid. And so a lot of these plants, oh my gosh, I love Claytonia so much. All of these plants, you can winter sow them as well. But if you fall sow them, you get to harvest that much more from them. And something like this Claytonia, it actually only germinates well in the cold. Like literally when we do our germination tests, we dial in, the temperature for them. So it's optimum germination temperature. Optimum, I forget what it exactly is, but we put them in the refrigerator. Which is effectively where I'm broadcasting from this morning. And so, yeah, we literally germination test them in the refrigerator, because at 70 degrees, they don't even germinate. They don't germinate in warm soils, just in cold. So, oh my gosh, there's so much more to share. But yeah, all of these varieties that I'm talking about in terms that we sowed in the fall, and of course spinach right at the top of that list. Like these are all perfect, whether it's wintergreen mesclun mix, arugula, kale, especially they're like red Russian and other kinds of Russian Siberian kales, the Napus kales, mosh, Asian spinach tatsoi. Perfect for winter sowing. And oh my gosh, I'm so excited for you to explore. And Cindy says, just took time to reread the Finger Lakes magazine with their great article on women farming. Love how they captured you doing what you're doing. Oh, thank you, Cindy. And oh my gosh, stay tuned. I'm about to share out a really exciting I did a wonderful article about Nathaniel Thompson at Remembrance Farm and Fruition collaborating with Ermin Goldman to create, and a bunch of other people who tasted, hundreds of other people who tasted and made these selections along the way to select a brand new variety that are kind of the heirlooms of tomorrow of the Finger Lakes, about our Dulcinea carrot. So, our carrot, us and the last, many countless generations of indigenous plant breeders who were illiterate only by modern standards, whose genius is the foundation of every calorie that we have the privilege of enjoying and ingesting. So stay tuned, and I'd love to tell you more of that story. And yay for edible Finger Lakes. And Stu says cattle panel hoop houses. Oh, totally. Yeah, that's a wonderful, great, thank you. What a wonderful suggestion, Stu. If you're looking for inexpensive ways to build greenhouses and a lot of things like arbors and trellises, cattle panels are amazing. They aren't necessarily inexpensive, but for what they are one of the deals of the 21st century. For sure. Thank you for that suggestion. And Kara says, 2 years I grew great beets. Last year, my beets and carrots struggled all year. I planted a number of times. Any recommendations? I fertilized and changed where I planted them. First things first, Kara, if you haven't done a soil test, do a soil test now. There's a blog that we have. If you simply search the internet for Fruition Seeds blog soil test, it will send your way. And it's really easy. They cost $20, and it just makes all the difference in the world, because all of the compost that you might be adding, all of the, like, how you're otherwise amending your soil, it kind of doesn't matter if your soil is somehow too acidic or too basic. So, and beyond that, if there are other limiting factors of micronutrients that you really, it would be very difficult to discern that without really easy and fun to do $20 soil test. So I highly recommend getting a soil test. And then certainly, I mean, because you've grown them well in the past, that means usually when people struggle with beets and carrots, they are just not nailing. And understandably, thinning is an art as well as a science. But it sounds like since you've been successful with them in the past, that the thinning isn't necessarily the limiting factor. So it very well could be fertility. And apart from just putting on more compost, your best bet is to do a soil test. So then you will actually know what the limiting factors are. And feel free to share that soil test with us, and we can help you understand it as well. And thank you for asking. And Stephanie says, hi, Petra. Hi, Stephanie. Oh my gosh. It's snowing here, and I'm dreaming of your tomatoes. We had so much rain last year. My tomatoes struggled. Is there a way I can help protect my tomatoes from excessive rain? I mean, beyond protecting them in a structure like a greenhouse, or like Stu just mentioned, investing in cattle panels, and you can put plastic over that, is another way. But yeah, and otherwise, a few other things you can do. Getting disease-resistant tomatoes is key. So Fruition, we have 4 different varieties that are resistant to early blight, late blight, and septoria leaf spot. And they're delectably disease resistant. Disease resistance, unless it's delicious, is not worth it. So I recommend starting, I mean, there's no silver bullet for preventing tomato disease, but starting with genetics that are delicious and like not crazy GMO and disease resistant are honestly your best. There's no silver bullet, but that is close. So beyond that, check out our blog on the ways to prevent tomato disease, because it also is cultural. So like making sure that you're not planting tomatoes closer than 2 feet apart. They need lots of space so that there can be lots of airflow, lots of sun infiltrating their canopy, and that helps ripen fruit faster, as well as reduce the surface area and the humidity that is essentially harboring those very effective diseases at proliferating. So thank you for asking, Stephanie, and sending love, and let's dial it in. In the next few weeks, I'm going to be starting to share, stay tuned for some dates. I'm about to put dates on the calendar. We're going to do a bunch of different garden planning workshops, and a bunch of them because, you know, like, you can learn to ride a bicycle maybe if there's 100 people all learning a bicycle. No, like especially if you're just beginning to garden, like riding a bicycle isn't hard. Yes, it is. Like, you take it for granted now that you know how to do it. And same with gardening. Like, it really isn't that hard, but it's really nice to be accompanied by people and a few people that really love you in the process. And so I am excited to put a bunch of these dates on the calendar so we can spend some more time really going deep with our garden planning together. And Lillian says, what is Claytonia? Oh my gosh, it's my favorite green of all time. It is native to Turtle Island, what we now call North America. It's incredibly cold hardy. It's incredibly easy to grow. And here I am with a small ocean of it. And I just love these little kind of heart-shaped leaves. And if you like spinach, you love Claytonia. And it's amazing. It just is so easy to grow, and we are having it under this floating row cover all winter long. But honestly, even if you establish it in the fall, you don't even have to grow it in a high tunnel or even under hoops. It'll survive under the snow. It'll just be harder to harvest until the snow melts. But and whether that snow it doesn't melt all winter, or whether your snow like we have here just comes and goes as our climate catastrophe continues to unfurl. And Nancy says, hi, Petra. We have beautiful snow here in Webster. Yay! Sending love from our snowy garden to yours. And what is your advice for growing tender radishes? Ooh, oh my gosh. So here's the thing. Radishes can be spicy. And that is up to you. I mean, it's the radish's choice, but here's the thing. Spice in radish is cultural, it's not genetic. So that means that cultural practices, it's what it's exposed to. And heat, that spiciness is a response to stress. And what stresses out a radish? Radishes really don't like heat. They prefer to grow in the cold, and they also don't like to be parched. They want to have plenty of water. So plenty of water and not dramatic swings in temperature and not heat. So this is why spring and fall are the best seasons for growing radishes. And honestly, we have some radishes in the next bed over, as well as some lovely little white salad turnips. Oh, they're so sweet and creamy. And the winter radishes are the best because they're the sweetest. They have all of that lovely radish flavor, but none of the heat that like lingers in your throat. So yes, there are spring and fall tender radishes are the best. So now you know, if you have a spicy radish, you have a stressed radish. And I confess, I don't mind spicy radishes. There are times when I love the spice too. But know that spice is up to you. And Kim says, just the sound of seeds shaking in your packages makes my heart soar. Oh my gosh, me too. Oh, thanks for bringing that moment of awe and remembrance to our lives, Kim. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. In my hand, there's over 1,000 seeds in my hand. I mean, and just think of all of that abundance to come, latent, that potential just laying here, just ready for whatever will happen next. Thank you. Thank you, Kim. Oh, well, we have just a few more minutes, friends, and I'm so grateful you're here. Joe says, oh yes, replying to Zena, native perennials and annuals do well. Central American crops like peppers and tomatoes, I wouldn't winter sow. Absolutely. Last year, I put my containers in the spot that was too sunny and some seedlings burned in those early heat snaps. We'll be more careful this year. Oh my gosh, I love this sharing. And Kim says favorite slicer tomatoes. Looking forward to starting these next month. Oh my gosh. Yeah, and for the record, we're here in Zone 5. We don't start our tomatoes till the first week of April. And I recommend not planting your tomatoes any earlier than 8 weeks before your final frost. Younger transplants are healthier and thus more abundant every time compared to older, more stressed transplants. Even though it's counterintuitive because you're like, we have such a short season. We have to start them so early. But literally here in Zone 5, Western New York and the Finger Lakes, we are starting ours in early April. And favorite slicing tomatoes, heavens above, do I have to choose? If I couldn't grow anything else, I might be satisfied just growing our Italian heirloom tomato, which is such a nondescript name, but it's so delicious, and they're massive and they're fabulous for canning, but they're also just like my go-to for a tomato sandwich. So Italian heirloom if I had to pick just one, and also because it has some lovely disease resistance. And gold medal is my number 2. I don't know, but Rose de Bernay, how can you not have Rose de Bernay in your garden? So how's that for my 3 tomatoes? Thank you for asking, and oh my gosh, I can't wait to share the farm with you one day in the peak of our tomato season so you can actually taste them all side by side. It's such a joy. And Pamela says, is the microgreen course you're offering posted on your new site yet? I'm trying to find it and having a hard time. Thank you. Oh my gosh. Our new site is having some serious rocky roads to its life. Some people are having fabulous experiences on it. Some people are not. And I am so sorry, friends. Your heartache, my heart is breaking for. And just keep in touch. And for that microgreens course, go ahead and send us a message. Send me an email with your email, and I'll just register you myself. You should be able to get there through myfruitionseeds.com, which is our old blog site. And our new site does forward to it, but if it's not easy, don't worry, it's not you. It's technology being technology, and we are wrangling it as fast as we can. And but yeah, go ahead and share your email with us, and we will be sure to register you right away so that you can get started growing your awesome microgreens right away. And thank you for asking, Pamela. Oh my gosh. Well, there are so many amazing questions, and I'm so sad. Jill says, oh my God, is it planting time already? No, 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 no. If you want to do some winter sowing of cold hardy things, yes, but honestly, don't be fooled. Unless you live in Florida. You're totally jumping the gun. The earliest crop we start is ginger in March. We're going to be sharing our ginger, dahlia tubers, and potatoes in March. Stay tuned for the launch. But after that, we don't start anything until the beginning of April. So yes, you are totally not missing anything. And Bob says, hi, Petra, I'm in New York, just starting microgreens, and hooray. Yes, yes, yes. Amazing, friends. Well, thank you so much for joining. And it's so hard to leave the questions. You'll find our soil test blog on the internet. Just Google Fruition Seeds blog soil test. You can also send us an email asking for the link. And without further ado, let's wrap up, friends, because we will do this again and again and again. And I love to end, as we begin all of our live Q&As together, with some words, songs, stories, poems, and this morning some words from the inimitable Amanda Gorman. When we merge mercy with might, and might with right, love becomes legacy. Thank you, Amanda. One more time. When we merge mercy with might, and might with right, then love becomes legacy. Love you, friends. Stay warm and stay green. Hopeful, whatever that means to you. I wish you the tenacity of this Claytonia.